Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Saturday, November 18th, 2023. Lance Brock here. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Sunday episode of Good Morning, Wrestling Fans. Lance Brock here once again. And once again, I apologize for having such a bad recap of Full Gear last night on 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I mean, lately, the last few AEW pay-per-views, by the time I stay up all day watching the pay-per-view and wait for Tony Khan to start the post-show media scrum, I can barely stay awake. So maybe instead of watching the pay-per-views right away, I record them on my Sling DVR, and then the next morning I'm awake and fresh, ready to do the podcast and recap the whole pay-per-view in its entirety. Luckily, I have started watching the replay of Full Gear on Bleacher Report this morning before I left for work. About to get to the main event. MJF, Maxwell, Jacob, Friedman, and one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions defending against Samoa Joe. And this is just my honest opinion on the show last night. I thought, as usual, for these AEW pay-per-views, I thought it was a great, solid pro wrestling show that they offered us last night. Had 3 great matches on 0 Hour. Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. And now that I think about it overnight after watching the replay of the pay-per-view, don't get me wrong, I'm sticking by what I said last night, that it was a great match, but I think it could just be me, but they didn't really mesh too well in that match. Swerve and Hangman, and I like when they went for the Swerve and MJF, I should say, they went for the double muscle buster spot, and then, I don't know, maybe it was planned, but it just kind of looked like it didn't go as it was planned to go, but I still thought it was a really good match, though. But still, AEW World Champion is MJF. They kept the title on Adam Cole, the tag team known as Better Than You, baby. And right now, my question to all of you, the 360 Wrestling Podcast listeners, is, do you agree with this decision to keep the AEW World Championship on MJF with this knee injury? And I'm not here to toot my own horn or anything, but like I said yesterday, I think as far as this devil storyline with Bullet Club Gold goes. I really see the latest that we get a reveal and find out who is under that devil mask could probably be until the World's End pay-per-view December 30th. But who knows? I could definitely be wrong. I have been wrong on this podcast many times, and I could be again, but I just think that with this whole angle so far, the build-up, and you have so many challengers all waiting for him who definitely have cause and reason why they should be number one contender for that AEW World Championship. If I had to take a guess, the winner of this Continental Tournament that they have announced for Ring of Honor and Collision, I'd have to guess Wardlow, because to me, you take a guy like Wardlow, was an associate, a bodyguard, a friend, whatever, of MJF for so long, and we've seen Wardlow actually attack Max in the back, talking about how MJF has taken everything from him. So, like I said, they've been together since the first episode of Dynamite, even before there was an AEW. So that is why, if you ask me, I'd have to say when we do see the reveal of the man in the devil mask, it has to be Wardlow. And I think it'll probably get over just like Vince McMahon when he was revealed as the higher power on Raw back in the day. But another thing that I did enjoy from last night's Full Gear pay-per-view, also, I'm not going to say that Tony Khan listened to me here on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, because I really doubt that he did. But it looks like that he has decided to push Sky Blue and Timeless Tony Storm like I asked him to on the podcast yesterday. And I feel like that this is a great decision, having the title on Tony Storm, and just let her be the face of the AEW women's division on TBS. Let her be the star of the show, main event, pay-per-views, especially now that AEW will be switching to monthly pay-per-views starting this year in 2023. I just feel that Sky Blue and Julia Hart could be two of the top stars in the AEW women's division. But like I said, let me know in the comment section right here, YouTube, Spreaker, or whichever podcast app or website you listen to. I got a notification this morning, actually, that apparently Darby Allin, one of AEW's top stars, arguably is taking a sabbatical from AEW for a while, which makes sense. I want to say I read this morning that he had to get about maybe, I want to say 15 stitches this morning, or maybe a little less than that, but I want to say that it might have been around 15. I'm really not sure though, so don't quote me on that. But Darby Allin taking a break from All Elite Wrestling, and hopefully he is listening to 360 Wrestling Fanatic right now, so I just want to send him get well wishes in the future. I always say here on 360 Wrestling Fanatic that Darby Allin is one of my, I don't know if it would be a top 5, if it would be a top 10, or how many wrestlers would actually be on the list, but Darby Allin is definitely one of my top favorite pro wrestlers right now. And even as a podcast host doing podcasts, I still have favorite wrestlers because I'm still just a fan like you. I just happened to find out about Blog Talk Radio website where you can host your own radio show, and all you have to do is call in on the phone and do it. So, sorry, I didn't mean to get into the history of 360 Wrestling podcast there, but if you're a regular listener, you know a lot of times when I talk about one thing, I often get distracted by another and then just end up going into that and talking about that one thing on and on and on. But I'm here at work now, so unfortunately I have to wrap up this Sunday morning episode of 360 Good Morning Wrestling fans. I just want to say thank you everyone for tuning in this morning and listening. Thank you for all the downloads, all the subscriptions right here on Spreaker, on YouTube, or whichever pro wrestling podcast website you listen to on. It doesn't matter if it's Apple Podcasts, if it's Google, Spotify, Castbox, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I think I repeated some, but whichever platform or format you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcast on, I just want to thank everyone for listening, and I will be back right here tomorrow morning for 360 Good Morning Wrestling fans. But until then, fans, have a great pro wrestling day.